rolling.
Good. So Father Durso has been a Jesuit for a number of years. Born in St. Louis in the near north side, born at Furman Deloche Hospital, entered St. Louis High in 1949, graduated in 1953, and immediately after entered the Jesuits at St. Stanislaus. And he's been a Jesuit now for 62 years, if I'm not mistaken. It gets better. It gets better. In the fall of 1960, Father Durso came to St. Lucie High, and we didn't realize that he was walking in the doors just before we walked in. He was in the Jesuit scholastic class with Father O'Keefe, Mr. Passarelli, Mr. Hutchison, and Mr. Weiler. In 1963, he left St. Lucie High and went out to St. Mary's in Kansas. In 1966, he returned to St. Louis long enough to be ordained a priest at the college church, and I believe next year, 2016, will be your 50th Jubilee year. So this is the beginning of celebrating that Jubilee year. He had to go back to St. Mary's for another year of theology, and then he went, of all places, to Wales. And that we might have to discuss that a little bit, because in talking with Father Durso earlier, it was pretty funny, some of his experiences there. The weather was quite intriguing, to say the least. So 68 to 71 was the academic assistant at Rockhurst High School, 71 to 74 principal at St. Lucie High, 75 to 81 was academic assistant at DeSmet and taught English, 82 to 92 went back to Rockhurst? At Rockhurst as an academic assistant and principal, assistant principal, and then came back to DeSmet from 93 to the present. So that's been your longest assignment at one time. So Father Durso's been at all three of the Jesuit high schools in the state of Missouri. So 2016 will be Father Durso's 50th year as a priest, and what a wonderful gift he has given to us. So I think what we would like to do, Father Durso, is Jim Munn and I are going to throw some, and anybody, by the way, after this gets going, as it always happens, somebody says, "What about?" So
shout it out. Feel free.
I want to throw just the one thing you talked to me a little bit about earlier this morning, and that was the football game between DeSmet when you were principal at St. Lucie High, right? Mm-hmm. And Houlihan, Father Houlihan, was the principal at DeSmet. So you recall a little bit?
Yeah, Sunday afternoon, we're at DeSmet, and St. Lucie High is behind. There's about a minute to go. St. Lucie High has the ball, and they are trying to score. And we got this fantastic fantastic kicker by the name of Gibbons. And I saw him once nail a 50-yarder for a field goal. But anyway, it's Gibbons' time to kick. He's only on about the 35, DeSmet's 35. And he kicks and he misses, but DeSmet's offsides. So he gets another try, 5 yards closer. He kicks and misses again. And the game's over. St. Lucie High loses by 1 or 2 points. Well, DeSmet was very gracious in hosting us for drinks and dinner afterwards. And I was there with Father Phil Kellett. And you know how he loved to lose. So we went down to the Jesuit rec room, and they were very hospitable. Kellett was very good. And after we had dinner, and then he and I left. I was driving, and he gets out to the car, kicks the tire. Goddamn, also son of a bitch. And then Joe, I forgot about this. I lived up on the 3rd floor of the Jesuit residence, and so did Kellett. And there was those transoms in the rooms. And for about a week, Kellett screams in his sleep, "Kick the ball!" So one other thing, somebody, I think it was Joe, who mentioned that this is going to be done in the Cusimano style. Now, most of you don't know, I taught Frank Cusimano. He was a DeSmet graduate, He graduated about 1980, and I had him as a freshman, a little smart ass even then. So I was proctoring the lunch hall during his, I think it was junior year, and he was there. So anyway, I don't know if you remember or not, this was back in around 1978, 79. Michener's miniseries Centennial was on TV. So I saw that Sunday night, and there was an Indian kid on there that looked exactly to me like Frank Cusimano. So lunch the next day, I said, "Oh, Cus, did you see Centennial last night?" "No, why?" I said, "Well, there was a kid on there that looked exactly like you, played the Indian." He said, "Who played the part, Sylvester Stallone?" And I said, "No, Mickey Rooney." So that was Cusimano.
Way to put him in his place.
Right.
So, how about, can you compare like students, high school students today are they all the same as when we were there?
They're a lot alike. Now, I don't know about the St. Louis U High students now, but the DeSmet students, and I can't remember who I was just talking about this with, do not read. Very little reading. You know, they're sitting out there during a break and they got their computers open. So that's just, it's just too bad. There are very, very few kids who will read on their own.
You know, you mentioned Father Kellett, and we all have memories of the Jesuits that were there when we were there.
Mm-hmm.
We had one perspective, and I think you probably had another. Were there any other characters that you care to elaborate on other than Father Kellett that we might not have seen the whole picture?
No, I think you saw the whole picture, especially with Father Conroy. I can't remember who it was that came running up to me in the cage one evening, or afternoon rather. And he said, "Guess what Father Conroy did today? Guess what Father Conroy did?" I said, "What?" He said, "He walked to the back of the room." And then when I was principal, he was flunking them like mad. So I said, "Bob, you know, if you're going to have more than 5 kids flunk geometry, it'd be worth your while and the school's while for you to teach summer school." Problem solved. But otherwise, I think you pretty much saw the whole story on all those guys. The one that I really liked was Joe Sheehy. Joe was a fiery little guy. And he came out to DeSmet and was somewhat semi-retired at DeSmet and died at DeSmet back in around 78. But I really liked Joe Sheehy. Great
He
guy.
lasted that long? He had us convinced freshman year he wouldn't make it to.
Oh yeah, he's always going to die of a heart attack.
Yeah.
And we were going to get it to him.
But yeah, he lasted until 78.
Wow.
So our first experience, my first experience with you, Father Durso, was down after school when I go down to the athletic cage. And, you know, that was your job to sort of run that. And do you have any sort of remembrances or thoughts about the cage and the interaction with the students down
Well, the biggest one that I remember is Al Chettle. Now, it was the year before you guys became juniors. Jack Chagru, you may have not known this or not, but anyway, he had a testicle removed because it was cancerous. So those of you who played varsity sports, you know, you got a towel, fresh towel every evening. So Chagru goes up, and Chettle's right behind him. They're both bare-ass naked. And Chagru grabs a towel, and it's just a rag. It says, "What's this, a half a towel?" Chettle says, "Yeah, for half a man." So I chased Chettle down the hallway to the shower room. I don't know what I'd done if I caught him. But I was just talking to Jerry Stevenson right before this. And that's something we could not do anymore because of protecting God's children. You couldn't do it. You know, Uli and I laugh about that and say, you know, with all these new boys and stuff like that. No way could you do that now.
You know, the one thing I remember about you back in those days was this giant
Key ring.
key ring. Exactly. Took the words out of my mouth. And I remember sitting in 1G with Drabell.
Who got hit in the back of the head?
Oh my God! I thought he was going to be woozy here.
One of you accused me of playing Ben-Hur. Remember the prison scene?
Care to talk about Bailey or Sheehan? I mean, those two judgments had a major impact on
they
a lot
were
of us.
fantastic guys. They're both fantastic guys. Sheehan is the best principal I've ever run into. He's just fantastic. And Bailey, I spent Bailey's last years at the SMET, so I got to know him real well. And I knew him too. He was president when I was principal. When I first was principal, he was president, and he was just a fantastic guy. Tremendous sense of humor. I don't know if you guys know Father Bob Weiss or not.
Yes.
I think
He was
some
not
do
there.
because from,
He was president of St. SLUH. He took Bailey's place as president. And good old Weiss is there, and after about 6 weeks, I could see that this guy really likes meetings. So I mentioned something to Bailey. I said, Bales, Weiss likes meetings as much as Sheehan. He said, oh no, he likes them more. He said, if Sheehan were at a meeting and have to fart, he'd excuse himself, get up, and come back in. If Weiss had to fart, he'd sit there and hold it for fear of missing something. And I've told Bob that story. He did not find it very interesting.
So I was over there and listening to you and Jerry Stevenson visit a little bit, and Jerry popped the question about when are you going to retire?
Well, hopefully never. Die in the classroom like Joe Shee was going to do. But I enjoy it. And as long as I enjoy it, as long as my health holds, just hold up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And besides, there's nobody who can take my place.
Do you care to expand on